A life filled with books is a life filled with magic, a break from the uproar, the vote of silence, a path to learn, a path to grow. Picking up a book is entering a safe space, no risk, no gamble, no fear, a corner filled with familiarity and comfort, a sanctuary. Third coffee of the day. What could go wrong? Stay tuned to find out. It's a chill day and we've got a chill video. Today I'm going to be talking about a collection of books within my overall collection of books, a little selection of books that I have that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and that collection is my books on books. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of my collection and I wanted to go over them today and share them with you because sharing is caring. This feels like show and tell, but for book lovers. This became a thing for me a while back and it's one of those things that just naturally happened. I just have been gravitating towards books about books. Typically I try to find these books within independent bookstores because it just feels like something special to find within an indie bookstore. Some of these were gifted to me and I think one of them was sent to me for review, but most of these books came from supporting an independent bookstore at one point. When I'm traveling, I always try to find an independent bookstore and support it in some kind of way. So if I never find a fiction book that I'm super interested in or want to pick up, I typically find a book about books and pick that up. It's kind of this magical book buying habit that I've developed over the years and I honestly really enjoy that. I love going into independent bookstores now and trying to track down a book about books and picking it up to add to my collection. I can't just love books on their own. I have to own books on loving books too. As someone who is immensely passionate about reading and sharing my love for reading, which hopefully you all have picked up on that passion by now, I feel like I've dedicated my life to this fiery passion that's burning inside of me. There's something I love about this kind of book because typically these books are created out of a love for books. The person that's creating it, the person that's curating it, did so because they love books. They also have that fiery passion within them. They also see the magic of books and they want to spread that through these books. The first one I have here is called Bibliophile. This is one of my favorites for the illustrations and design alone, and then going beyond that, I also just love the format of this book, and it also goes through so much, which is something that I really appreciated. It's a book that is just jam-packed. It didn't just give us a peanut butter sandwich, it also included the jam in there. Yeah. It's almost like a guidebook on being a bibliophile, which I really love. Not that I need a guidebook on being a bibliophile. I think I've got that covered. I think I don't need help in that area of my life. It's got these curated book stacks throughout it, which you can use as a recommendation guide, or if you've been looking for a book within a specific genre. This book has loads of recommendations throughout it. From historical fiction to dystopian to coming of age stories, it's got a wide variety. A feature within it that I really love as well is that it delves in deep to each different genre and sort of explains each one in depth, which is why I feel like this is a good guidebook for new readers, because I feel like sometimes when you're first getting into reading, it's overwhelming to have all these genres and not fully understand what book fits under what genre, and this book provides you with all the deets you need. It highlights beloved bookstores from around the world and gives you little bits of history on each of the bookstores. I'm not gonna lie, those sections give me envy because I have yet to visit every bookstore in the world and that makes me really sad. But I love seeing the ones that I've been to before and learning more about it and more history on it. One of my favorite bookstores is in here too, and that's Sundog Books. It's located in Florida. My family and I have visited it a couple of times on vacation, so it's nice to see that one highlighted in here. And there are so many more now that are on my list of bookstores to visit in the future. I want to go on just a big bookstore trip. I think that'd be so much fun. It covers a lot of different authors as well and gives you more insights into their life. And I think that that's really great to know more information about the authors that you're reading from, because sometimes you can just know their books, but then to go beyond that and know a little bit more about their lives, the things that they're involved in outside of writing, it's really cool. Kind of humanizes them a little bit more. You mean to say they're not these just epic superhero beings that write books and change our lives? No, they're also human. This is just the perfect book for people who identify as a bibliophile, which I feel like a lot of us identify as a bibliophile. And it's for people who not only enjoy reading, but going beyond that and collecting books, learning more about authors, learning more about bookstores, etc., etc. I definitely recommend this one. It's stunning. It's a stunner. Next in my collection, I have I Will Judge Your Bookshelf. This is mostly a comedic take on being a book lover, but then also a comedic take on being a writer and all the struggles that come with being a writer. For the reader side of things, we've got takes on things like the stages of the reader, the perfect reading spots, dancing with books, and it's just filled with all these little quirky little reader comics that I feel like a lot of us will relate to. I personally found myself between these pages, smashed between the pages. There were many occasions where I felt attacked and I did not appreciate it. I didn't realize that that when picking up this book, I would be roasted on every single page, but that's what appears to have happened. Then on the flip side, it does have that kind of like writer aspect as well, and we've got all these comedic takes on things like writer's block, coming up with pen names, character development. It just brings sort of a lightheartedness to all these like frustrating things that authors go through, which sure, when you're in the moment and you're facing things like writer's block or coming up with character names or figuring out where your plot is going, those things can be so frustrating, but then in the aftermath, like you can sometimes look back on it and laugh. Keyword there is sometimes. Sometimes you look back on it and you want to cry. But it just kind of brings a lighthearted tone to these situations that can oftentimes be frustrating for writers and authors. I feel like this one is perfect for like readers and writers who are looking for just like relatable content. Like you just want that like fun, lighthearted reader and writer humor. This book is perfect. Next up here, we've got one of my all-time favorite picture books, and that is the Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lesmore. I know the intended audience for picture books is little children. I would argue the fact that I am still a little child and will forever be a little child. So fight me on that. I literally still have the heart of a child, so fight me. Fist up, let's go. This is one of those books that I feel like you will treasure no matter what age you are. It's essentially a look into the importance of stories, but also exploring how people fall in love with stories, books, and reading. And it covers how we're all writing our own stories as we move forward in life. There's a page in particular that I love that I'm going to read aloud. We're having a little Jesse the Reader read aloud right now. Morris liked to share the books with others. Sometimes it was a favorite that everyone loved, and other times he found a lonely little volume whose tale was seldom told. Everyone's story matters, said Morris, and all the books agreed. When I tell you that this book makes me emotional, I mean it. My eyes get watery every time I pick this book up and read it. Mind you, I don't read it often because I don't like getting emotional. It's not fun for me, but I feel like this book just reminds me like why I keep creating bookish content. And that's because just like Mr. Morris Lesmore, I believe that every story matters and I want to keep that message alive. So I definitely recommend checking out this picture book. It also has a short film, which is fantastic. I believe you can find it on YouTube. It's one of my comfort books and I feel like it's perfect for people who appreciate the beauty of storytelling. And I feel like it's a great book to instill that love of stories and books in young ones as well. Next up here, I've got the Mystery Writers of America cookbook. This book was sent to me forever ago and I've yet to make anything from it. I'm not proud of the fact that I don't cook, and I'm not like saying it to be like, oh, I'm so quirky and weird and different, like I don't cook. No, like I don't cook. I'm sure I could if I tried. Like through and through, I'm a sandwich boy. I'm a salad boy. I'm all about convenience. I'm all about easy, and I feel like more times than not, cooking, there's a lot of like precise ingredients and things, and I just feel like I would mess it up. So maybe someday I will try something from this cookbook. Maybe I'll get brave, maybe I'll stop being lazy, and I will give it a go. But for now, I'm all about that zero effort, and I think that's okay. Anyway, this book brought together acclaimed plot stirrers, aka writers, and had them share recipes. Some of them are personal recipes, some are inspired by their books, some are recipes from within their books, or meals that they think their characters from their books would eat. I just think this is such a fantastic concept. This one does highlight like mystery writers in general, but I think it'd be so cool to like have other versions of this book, like fantasy authors, sci-fi authors, contemporary authors even. I would just love to see like a cookbook series with authors from different genres. I think that would be so cool. Even though I don't cook, I'm obsessed with this. I would recommend this to people who love reading and cooking and want to combine those two hobbies. Definitely recommend checking this out. Next in my collection, we've got the Book of Books. This explores America's 100 best loved novels. I will say that this is probably my least favorite in my collection. Don't get me wrong, it's still fascinating seeing the books that were selected, but from what I've read of it, it doesn't share how they compiled the list. Like I would imagine it's all based on like sales in America. Like I'm sure that they just like tracked book sales within America and based it off that. But it mentions that they did extensive research for this book and then failed to mention what that research was. And I don't know about you, but if you're gonna show me 100 of the best loved novels in America, I wanna know how you got that data. Give me the tea. What research did you do? Tell me everything. What I do like about this book is that while it's not just like a list of 100 books, it also delves into the history of each book it brings up and shares stories surrounding these stories, which oftentimes to me can be very magical. It can be just as magical as reading these books as like learning bits of history about a book or how a book was written or what an author was going through when writing that book and like how the book came to be. Like I love that magic that is attached to books as well. That's just something that I personally like nerd out about. Like I love learning interesting facts that you might not know about popular books. Next up, I have this literary puzzle book, which is literally what the title entails. It's a literary puzzle book. It's got things like a Lord of the Rings word search, bookish anagrams, author Sudoku. In some ways, you could use this as like a recommendation tool because there's some puzzles and different games within this where it includes books that I haven't even heard of before. So I'll be intrigued enough to like go beyond just seeing the title in this book, and I'll like Google it and find out what it's all about. I've only done a few of the puzzles just because it feels like such a special thing. Like, I want to cherish this for as long as I possibly can. I don't want to fill it all up right away, but I really enjoyed this and would definitely be interested in picking up more literary puzzle books like this. Next up here, I've got XLibris, 100 plus books to read and reread. This is another one that's like kind of low on the totem pole for me. It's not my favorite in my collection. I would say the Book of Books is at the bottom and this one is right above that one. So just to give you insights on where it ranks in this collection, this book was put together by a literary critic and they basically recommend 100 plus books that they feel like people should read and reread. It provides you with books that will open your eyes to new perspectives and new ideas. In general, I don't like books like these because I just feel like everybody has such different tastes. And like, sure, this person is a literary critic, they know what they're talking about, they know their stuff, but I just feel like in general, not everybody's gonna vibe with the books that were selected for this. I feel like it's gonna be like a very specific audience that will vibe with these books. Obviously, again, the creator knows their stuff. They know books. But I just think in general, for me, like, I'm not gonna gravitate towards a book full of recommendations for book recommendations. You know who I'm going to if I need book recommendations? Y'all! You! I'm going to you guys for the book recs. Let's be real. Y'all are the real ones. Y'all got the hookups. This is a beautiful book though, and I've enjoyed bits of it that I've read. Something that I really like is the illustrations that are throughout it. There are original illustrations throughout it where they've basically gone through and re-illustrated some of the books that are mentioned in it. So we've got books like The Odyssey, The Great Gatsby, The Handmaid's Tale. Not to be a snob, and I know that I already was like harping on this book, but like, they were a little stingy with their illustrations. There's not that many. They could have like added 30 more and it would have been perfection. 30 was such a specific number. I don't know where 30 came from, but like, I bet 30 more illustrations would have had me loving this book. Next up here, I've got Weird Things Customers Say in Bookstores by Jen Campbell, who is actually a booktuber, or was a booktuber. I don't know if they're still a booktuber. It's hard to keep up with people these days. This is one that I will just like randomly pick up off my shelf and just like flip through the pages and read little sections of it. It basically just like gives you the experience of a bookseller and all the customers that they deal with on the daily. I'll just like read a few. Customer, are all of your books for sale or just some of them? Customer, is this book edible? Bookseller, no. Customer, you know that film Coraline? Bookseller, yes, indeed. Customer, my daughter loves it. Are they going to make it into a book? It's filled to the brim in reader humor. It's got little sections that will probably have you rolling your eyes, but overall, it's a good time. Definitely recommend this one. Next up here, I've got Book Love. This one is actually very similar to I Will Judge Your Bookshelf. It has a lot of reader relatable comics. I remember when I first read this one, I just was like reminded of all the sketches that I used to make here on YouTube about like reader relatable problems. It covers things like always being distracted when reading books, the frustration of stickers on books, and overall things that fill readers with happiness. It's fun, lighthearted. I will say it's a little bit on the cliche side when it comes to like the reader humor, but I still enjoy it. Next up is one of my all-time favorites. This is Unpacking My Library, Writers and Their Books. I am somebody who is very nosy, like I like knowing things. And this kind of allows the reader to do just that. It allows you to go into these different writers' libraries and just look at their book collections. Like, that excites me. That's like the first thing I do when I enter somebody's house, is like try to figure out where their book collection is. When they don't have one is when I'm very disappointed. It showcases 13 writers and their collections, and throughout it, it has interviews with the writers talking about when their book collection started, their mindset behind the books they gravitate towards, what kind of shelves they have, and I just love it. Again, as somebody who is very nosy, this book is perfect for me. There's just something so fun about like looking at somebody's book collection and just like seeing how they organize different books, seeing how similar their collection might be to mine, or how their collection is vastly different from mine. Like, I just love it. And I feel like your book collection says a lot about you too. So I really enjoy this one. Next up, I have here a library of misremembered books. I absolutely love this one, and I love like the story behind it. The concept is when you have this book in mind, but you can't remember the title of it. You can only remember like little details of it. Like, it might be one word of the title. It might be the color of the book. It might be some kind of element that's on the cover, or it might be like the author's first name. And it's just filled with illustrations with that concept in mind. So we've got things like books where a lot of afternoon teas take place. Lady becomes immortal because of aliens, and it gets really philosophical. Girl, horse, lightning. I just love little books like this. The last one that I have to show you, and the last one that is in my collection, though trust me, I've got many on my wish list and many more that I want to pick up in the future, but it's Book Nerd. This is literally just like a celebration of loving books. It is super wholesome, super cute, and I love the illustrations and design throughout it. It's filled to the brim with little bookish illustrations and bookish cliches with things like, I'd rather be reading, sorry I'm all booked up, shelfie goals. There's not a lot in this that like brings anything new to the table, but I think what like makes this so magical is like the illustration style and the design throughout it. It's a nice little book to have on display on your bookshelf or on your coffee table, and it will attack you with its relatability, that's for sure. Those are all the books that are currently a part of my Books on Books collection within my book collection. I'm excited to see this collection continue to grow and thrive. Again, I love finding books like this within like independent bookstores. I don't know why specifically like independent bookstores, but there's just like something magical about buying a book about books within a bookstore, and even more magical when it's an independent bookstore. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys have any of these books and what your favorites are, or just let me know down below in the comments if you have any books on books within your own collection and what your favorites are. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon, and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, yo! I love you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I need you, baby.